Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I noticed that too.
For those who wish to speak tonight, please remember to address all your comments and questions to the chair and this commission, and keep your comments brief and on point. If you agree with the previous comment, simply indicate your agreement and move on. We'll ask, to expedite tonight's meeting, I'll ask all those who wish to testify or believe they might testify to please stand to be sworn in. Let me repeat, for all those who think they may testify, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, please answer, I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Staff, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ferguson,
Here.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Here.
Commissioner L. Wiley, here. Commissioner Nesbitt,
Here.
and Vice Chair Preston.
Here. Thank you. To begin, we have only one item on the consent agenda, minutes of the previous meeting. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to read the minutes? Say, I do.
I do. Yes, sir. I do.
Do you take exceptions or do you wish to amend the minutes? I hear none. Therefore, we will accept the minutes as presented and submit to record. Thank you. The first public hearing item is going to be continued case 22-100-20, rezoning at 701 North Forest. Staff, will you present?
This is an application by Walter Bethea, the property owner, to rezone the property at 701 North Forest Avenue from R6 to R12. The aerial shows the location of the site is on the northeast corner of West College and North Forest. This is the surrounding zonings for the property. The applicant's property is in the blue rectangle there. To the south is property that is zoned R12, two-family dwelling. To the west is all R6 single-family, and then to the east is a combination of multifamily, that's that purple color, and also single-family to the east of that. Comprehensive plan recommends, the neighborhood residential uses for the site. Okay, the title of this zoning district has changed over time, but the property's always been zoned for single family. The applicant seeks to has recently purchased the property on this corner and about 2 years ago, and with the intent to develop it into building lots. To that end, he seeks to rezone the property, which is about half of an acre, to R12, divide it into 2 lots, and then construct a duplex on each lot. Currently, there's a small vacant single-family house on the northwest corner of the lot that will be demolished to make way for this development. And actually, they've already taken out have applied for a demo permit to demo the little house that you'll see in the photos here. This is the proposed plat. that shows the property in its entirety and also how it will be divided into two lots. Both of them will basically front onto the main street there and will be addressed from that street. Part of the property was part of the railroad that went through here at one time. That's the vertical diagonal lines that goes through lot 2, the south lot. Whoops. The area has, College has been kind of a demarcation line. South of College, it's College Terrace, it's kind of a blend of single family and duplexes. And north of that is all zoned R6 for single family homes. Most of the homes in this area were built in the post-war 1950s. And on the southwest corner of this intersection is also the city's water department, a construction office and storage site. The property is located in the West White Oak neighborhood. The neighborhood preservation master plan identifies this area as challenged as there has been a lack of new investment due to limited owner-occupied housing. Plan identifies that more single-family owner-occupied property should be encouraged. Construction of duplexes would not be in keeping with this historic preservation plan. This is the existing house that's on the northwest corner of the site, and it's been abandoned for a number of years. My understanding, it's also in the process of being demolished. Here, we're at the intersection of College and Forest, looking to the northeast. The southern part of the property is vacant. It all drains to the downhill to this intersection. Here is another photo that we're looking north at the front of the site, which is towards the neighborhoods. And this is looking east up College Terrace. There's some actual duplexes there on the right side, as we'll see here in a minute. This is the south of the site. Duplex on the south side of the street there, across the street from the site. And another duplex there. And then here we're at the intersection looking to the southwest at the city's, you call it water distribution office plant. You can see there's some trucks and stuff there in the background. Here we're looking west onto 9th Street. That's a single family home over there on the right. Again, that fencing wall there on the left is part of the water district's property. And here we're looking at the houses across from the site on the east side of Forest here, and those you can see are all single family homes. Here we're looking south down North Forest Avenue towards the intersection. Again, there's the water plant property there on the right. This is the house that's immediately north of the site. It's a small house, really smaller than the neighbor. I'm not sure if that was not a garage that was converted into a house sometime in the past. I don't know. Staff does not recommend approval of this rezoning to R12 as the current single-family zoning conforms to other properties north of College Terrace, which are also primarily zoned R6.
Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, it does. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Point of clarification, 0.42 acre, is that post-division or is that the whole of the lot?
That's the entire lot. So each lot will have a 0.21 acres, roughly. I'm sure the surveyor can outline that information for you.
Further point of clarification, is it staff's contention that the boundaries between the R6 to the north and the remainder of those properties to the south are a blend of R6 and R12?
Well, the property to the south are primarily zoned R12.
R12.
What's actually on the property is a mix of duplexes, particularly along the frontage of West College Terrace there, and single-family homes. Now, things north there There is, on the purple property that you can see, that actually fronts onto property to the northwest of there, I think there's a duplex or two on those lots, but pretty much everything else north of that street is single family.
So it's staff's contention that this is a dividing, essentially
Yeah.
a dividing line?
Demarcation line, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have questions of staff?
Stuart, now, is there any plans for the city to do anything across on the water part, or is that going to be there probably forever? Anybody know?
I would guess that it's going to be there forever.
Okay, so,
I don't know, they've already, downsized, they sold off the building there on the corner, and they've cut back the property they owned to a
Okay.
smaller portion, but I don't have any information that they were ever going to close that.
okay, so that's probably always going to be there, so that'd be,
I would guess.
okay, so that's something, I mean, because basically we try to look at duplexes for buffering going into single family, since we have commercial, basically, that land's probably commercial, correct?
Well, actually, if you look at the zoning map there, it is zoned R12,
R12, okay,
which is not unusual for government buildings or properties to remain residentially zoned in residential areas.
okay. That answers the question, thank you.
I have a question, Stuart. Is the Midtown Corridor 353 abatement program still in effect?
I think it might be still in effect. They're not taking any new applications or anything like that, but I think it may be still out there, still, I don't want to say
There's people-
active, but
Okay,
I'm not sure if this property's in it or not.
okay.
Commissioners? Then, will the applicant please come forward? And would you give your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Irwin Gard. I'm the owner of Gard Horizon LLC, a land surveying and building permit
Mr.,
consultant in Blue Springs, Missouri.
you can put the microphone up on the next tier there, and it'll help a little bit.
That's better. And my address out there is 1040 Southwest Luttrell.
Is it on? Is the microphone on?
That's even better.
It's self-service.
Do I need to repeat any of that?
Would you please?
Yes. My name is Irwin Gard. I'm the owner of Gard Horizon LLC, a land surveying and building permit consultant located at 1040 Southwest Luttrell in Blue Springs, Missouri. I am here on behalf of Mr. Walter Bethay, my client, who is seeking to rezone property that he owns at the northeast corner of College and Forest Avenue for the purpose of building two duplex structures, residential duplexes. I have read the staff comments, and with a few exceptions, I basically support what they say. And those exceptions I'd like to call to your attention. Unfortunately, the zoning map that they displayed, at least on the screen, did not include a large enough area, because just about 2 blocks to the west of this site, and I don't know whether you can see this or not, there is another large area of R18 zoning. About 3 blocks north, there's commercial zoning, and of course, a large area of duplex zoning to the south. So this case that Mr. Bethay is wanting is not spot zoning. It does conform with kind of the surrounding area. And if it wasn't for the R18 zoning immediately west of or east of and adjacent to the site, I would probably support staff's comments. But if I was seeking to buy a single-family home, I would not want a bunch of apartments in my backyard. And that's what could be built on that R18 zoning. So therefore, Mr. Bethay, and I agree with him, duplex use of this property is really more consistent with the duplexes to the south, the apartment complex or building zoning to the east, the commercial just a few blocks north. Really, this area, even though it's largely residential right now, really isn't suited for that in the long term. Now, if he was east of Chrysler, which is this street right here, if you go east of it, then I agree, that's definitely our, single-family homes. But from Chrysler to this zoning over here, from the duplexes to the commercial, that really should be a mixed use. And I am suggesting that, R12 zoning for duplexes on this tract of land would not be out of context with what I see in the area. Other than that, as I said earlier, if it wasn't for that zoning to the east, I would probably be supporting, what the staff has said. Other than that, I think I've pretty well covered my points. I would entertain any questions that you might have.
Commissioners?
Question here. Do you know what size duplexes would fit on those lots? I mean, are they looking at 500, 700,000 square foot duplexes?
You say 700,000?
No, 700 or 1,000.
Oh,
Sorry.
If it was really tall.
Mr. Bethay has not indicated what size footprint he plans on building, but, for the area, I would think that each unit would probably be in the general neighborhood of 800, 900,000 square feet.
Okay. So there's no plans yet on what size they would put on there?
I have not seen them.
Okay.
Now, we will be doing the plot plan and construction staking once we get to that point, but I have not seen the plans as of this point.
For my purpose, I was curious, because, I mean, I see the houses around it are small, so that's why I didn't know what size, because
Yeah,
you're talking duplexes, and it doesn't look like me the lot size is big enough for a duplex, in my opinion. I mean, say it can't happen two-story, but I don't know if that's something they're looking at or what.
Well, just a minute. Yeah, see, the lots are 70 feet wide,
Uh-huh.
so, that would allow you to build
A 50 by 20?
about a 56-foot wide, unit or duplex
Uh-huh.
with maybe 20 feet, 25-foot wide units each. The depth, of course, could be deeper.
Right, that'd be deeper, right.
So, and if you do an over-under, it could be a fairly sizable unit, but I don't think the neighborhood would support a big unit because everything around is small.
Right, that's why I say everything's small. That's why I was just curious if he already had plans of what,
No, he may, but I haven't seen him.
okay, thank you.
Sir, you appear to offer some wisdom, so help me out.
Okay?
That neighborhood, if I'm correct, is at a tipping point. It could appreciate in value, it could depreciate in value.
I agree with you.
What do you think would be the economic impact to the homeowners beyond the southern portion of it that are R12, but those R6 residents? What do you think?
Considering the zoning in the larger picture, rather than just, right there at the intersection, I think any new construction from College to 24, from Chrysler West to that larger, or any new construction there is going to help the neighborhood.
And tell me why.
Pardon?
Tell me why. Why do you think that?
Well, I think the best way is for me to give you an example. I've got another client that is working in downtown Kansas City in what they call the infill district. When I first went down there for this client, I said, what in the world are you doing here? Because I wouldn't live there. But he's been building new homes in these run-down neighborhoods, and everybody's ecstatic because it's improving the neighborhood values. And I think that's what this development here will begin. It will definitely improve that corner. If you've ever been on the site, that existing house that was there was horrible. It was an eyesore. And I'm glad to see it go, even though I don't live there. But two nice upscale, not upscale, but new construction duplexes will help that neighborhood. Now, honestly, 2 single-family homes would too. But the
What-
problem.
no, you're anticipating my next question.
But the problem is selling those duplexes or selling those single-family homes once they're built, knowing that somebody could come in tomorrow and build a bunch of apartment buildings right on your backyard. As I said, if it wasn't for that R18 zoning adjacent to this property on the backside, I would support staff. I'd say this should be single-family. But that apartment zoning, I mean, it's right in the backyard, is going to depreciate any new single-family home that you build there.
Commissioners?
So basically, gentlemen, ladies, I'm here to ask for your support. Even though staff has suggested otherwise, I think this is appropriate zoning.
Okay, I do have a question.
Yes.
In your opinion, a single-family home there, not just because of the apartments, but would probably be overpriced for the neighborhood. Whereas, I'm asking if I'm putting words in your mouth, but 2 duplexes that were affordable and yet new would enhance the neighborhood. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you were to build single-family homes there, I haven't seen a single-family home built in the last 10 years that sells for under $275, $250 minimum probably. I don't think that would sell in that neighborhood, especially if the buyer was aware that he could have apartments in his backyard next week, next month. I wouldn't do it.
Thank you. We'll reserve that we may call you back.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Staff, any comments at this point?
No, he pretty much outlined the details of the project.
Thank you. Will those who wish to speak in favor of the application please step forward to the podium, give your name and address for the record. Please remember to address all comments to the chair. Keep them brief and on point. And again, if you have information the same as the previous presenter, then simply nod in agreement with that. Do we have anyone here wishing to speak in favor? All right. Do we have anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Thank you. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Scott O'Brien, 1505 West College Terrace. I've been on West College Terrace for about 20 years. My home used to be 2 apartments in one home, which I have converted back into a single home. In the last couple of years, 3 of my neighbors have had their homes, well, one sat vacant for 5 years. It has been restored and sold. So we've had 3 brand new homes sold in our neighborhood on College Terrace. My house has doubled in value since then because of the restoration that is happening on this short little street. I am opposed to this rezoning. That side of the street, the north, I'm on the south side. I am R12, and I probably should go get myself rezoned to an R6 because I am a single family, along with most of the other homes that's on my side of the street, except for the 4 duplexes at the end. I'm concerned that if they put a driveway or parking on our street is horrendous. It's only 3 cars wide, so when they're parking on both sides, it gets really bad, and there's a lot of children running around in the street. I'm concerned with this small piece of property that's divided into 2, that parking will become an issue. I'm also concerned that the signage that was put for this meeting was on College Terrace up the street a little bit, so you can't see it from Forest. So I'm not even sure if the neighbors even know about this. So I'm just here to oppose this. I think our little street is revitalizing. It's becoming single families slowly. and I'd like to see that continue to grow.
Thank you. Before you leave, tell us, I know you indicate that you think the neighborhood is trending upward,
Yes,
and that you have not moved to go from an R12 for your personal holding to an R6. Is that because you intend to, at some point, sell and revert back?
I hadn't even thought about it till I saw this. So now that I know that I'm on R12, I'm probably going to come back before you and ask to be changed.
Commissioners, do you have questions?
One question for you
Yes.
here. I mean, say they do put a duplex and that we put in stipulations that they have to have driveways enough to accommodate cars. Would something like that be helpful for there? Because that sounds like parking is an issue.
It
And
is an issue.
I mean, that's things I complain about all the time with staff, is about parking with
Yes.
cars. I mean, I want to make sure there's enough parking off the street for enough. So, I mean, I don't know if we can put that in there, but that's something that we can, if something like that would go forward, I mean, that's what I look at. I mean, you do say you took a house that was a duplex, basically, made it back to a single phone?
It was a single-family home at one point.
Uh-huh.
It was converted into 2 apartments. I
Okay.
converted it back into a single family.
Okay. And do you say the neighbors were the same way, or the,
I know at least one neighbor definitely was. I'm not sure about the other neighbors, but they could have been since they're all R12s.
okay. That's all I have, thanks.
And I am part of the Truman Corridor project. I have taken part of that. I know 2 of my neighbors were part of that also. I'm not sure about the rest of the neighborhood. The one house across the street from me that was just sold, it was renovated and sold, was a long-term rental. It is now a single-family home. So, thank you.
Ellen Wiley, question? H. Wiley? No, I'm good. You're good. Thank you, sir. Did you have a? No, I'm good. Okay. Is there anyone else who would speak in opposition? Thank you. Again, please cite your name and address for the record, and speak into the mic. Were you sworn in?
No.
Then please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're giving before this commission is the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
I'm Frank Smith, 1403 West College Street. It's right where College turns, and if you go straight, you're on College Terrace. My driveway is sharing a house that's a College Terrace address, so I'm close here. I would not like to see our neighborhood have any more rental units. People who own their houses take better care of the neighborhood than renters. Recognized by the city for years, they've given first-time homebuyers money because it's cheaper for the city to have homeowners than renters. Also, the discussion about the higher zone property next to it, that's actually a apartment building that's on College Street, about halfway from where it turns to where it meets Forest. And that land that comes down on like a triangle, if I'm not mistaken, that's all part of what allowed them to build that apartment building. They can't build more on that. And from this property, you can't see that apartment. I used to mow that property a few years ago. I'm familiar with it. It's also extremely wet. There's right on the corner, there's like a deep hole of water that comes off the hill, because College Street is a lot higher than this land. A lot of water comes down through there. Whatever's done with that property, that has to be carefully looked at and taken care of. The southern part of that property is almost marsh-like when it's rained hard. So, but I'm opposed to building any more duplexes there. I would like to see single-family homes built there, but not duplexes.
And it is your opinion that this proposed R12 would be detrimental to
Yes.
property values?
Yes, I
And
think
would
so.
and it's your opinion that this area is trending upward.
Yes, it is. I've seen several of the houses be remodeled, including the one directly across the street from me, which was derelict for quite a while and is now remodeled and sold at a decent price.
So I take it that you would invite development, and if dividing that lot into two pieces, that they would be single-family homes.
Yes, I would not be opposed to that at all.
And that would, in your honest opinion, improve property value.
Yes, I think that would definitely improve property values.
Thank you. Commissioners?
I have one question here.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to take a picture of what it looks like here. So you said you mowed that property, and where they're saying that it's R12, there is a duplex up there or apartments up there?
There's an apartment building up on College Street.
Okay, 'cause I don't, do we have a picture of that we can know? Oh, okay, because I'm trying, I'd like to, I see a little outhouse building in Evergreen, so it must be on the other side of that, is that correct?
Yeah, so the almost brownish or reddish colored triangle that you see behind this property,
Right,
okay, if you follow that up to College Street, that's where the apartment is. You can't see it
and like I say,
standing
I'm
on that
looking at
property.
pictures on Google Maps right now, like I say, I'm trying, and I can't see it either, like you said, that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out.
From there, you can't see it and I walk my dogs down College Street a lot, and I can't see this house on this property from that apartment building.
Okay, so you're saying if somebody built a house there, it shouldn't make any difference?
It shouldn't make any difference to them at all.
Okay, good information to know, because
That's
I
my
mean,
opinion.
I just thought it was, I didn't know there was an apartment place there, because nobody recognized there was, so I'm glad that was clarified. Appreciate that, thank you.
You bet. Anything else?
Commissioners? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone remaining that wish to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing none. Sir, would you like to return and respond to any of the comments that were offered by those in opposition to the project?
Well, I really don't have much to say. If I lived in a single-family home in that neighborhood, I might be in their same shoes. But I am also a professional. I've seen many, many areas like this, with the same problem. The R18 zoning behind me, which is my main concern, I haven't seen the apartment building, so it must be really hidden. But if there is a building there, of course, it could always be tore down and, a new apartment's built. It's already zoned for it. All it would take is a plot plan, permit application to the city to meet the zoning requirements, and a new apartment building could be built there. Maybe even two or more. So just because there's one already there doesn't prevent further development of that property. So again, that's my main concern, is if we're limited to single-family homes on this small tract, he's going to have a hard time selling them.
Thank you, sir. One moment. Commissioners, do you have a question? Thank you. Staff, would you like to respond to any of the comments offered, or you've had an opportunity to review and can offer us any new information?
I don't have anything new on this application.
Thank you. Hearing no additional comments, Commissioner, do you have any questions for staff?
I do, I'm still trying to find this apartment complex. I mean, I'm looking on Google Maps, is there any way you guys can bring that up and see where this, I'd like to see what everybody's talking about, because I see the orange in the picture, and I see the street up College Terrace. Where is this apartment complex at, that supposedly? Because corner, is it on Forest or on College Terrace?
No.
College Street. Okay.
No.
Okay, so we're a triangle. Okay, so that's where I've got to go to.
information, or would it be a part of our discussion? I'll wait until I close then.
I'm thinking I found it.
Commissioner L. Wiley, you have a question?
I do. Chairman, could I ask the two homeowners that were in a position to respond to a question for me?
Would you please return to the podium? Thank you.
It's all tree covered, so you can't see anything. It's up there a ways.
Perhaps the latter should be first this time. Commissioner Wiley?
It's not a difficult question, but you complained about parking. Do your single-family homes have driveways and garages?
Yeah, yes, I have a driveway.
I do.
Do you know if there are single-family homes that do not have driveways? And what is causing the parking problems? Is it the apartment building closer to you? Is it additional duplexes somewhere else?
So I think there's 3 existing duplexes on the south side of College Terrace. They do not have driveways. So that's,
Curbs,
no, there's a curb.
not on the north side,
No, on the south side.
on the south side.
There
there's
aren't
curbs.
apartments on
There's one of the duplexes there.
there's one duplex on the north side.
No, I'm just saying that this is what the ones on the south
Yeah.
side of College Terrace
Right.
look like, and that's the street College Terrace there.
Looks like they got parking in the back according to the picture I brought up.
I was just trying to picture
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are 2 homes, just down from me.
Sir, you're
that
gonna
are
have to
shared-
speak into the microphone. We can't hear you.
There are 2 homes just next to me that have a shared driveway, and they have large families, so there is
Lot of
a
street
car issue there. Because I know I have, in front of my house, they're parking in front of my house because there's just not enough room for them all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I also have on my map where that apartment building is, if anyone wants to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see where it's at.
Can staff put that on the screen? No.
No, they can't put it on. What's the address?
1507 College,
1507? Okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Staff, any additional comment? Hearing none, then I will close the public portion of this hearing. Commissioners, let's take a moment.
It's a tough one. I mean, I see both points. I like to see the new construction. I mean, this has probably been vacant for 100 years. I mean, I like, somebody wants to do something there. I see where the people are there. I'd rather see it be single-family homes, yes, because that's where we need to be,
Would you support it if it were an application for single-family homes?
definitely.
But would they fit on that lot?
Yeah, they'd fit. I mean, there'd be small homes, but like they say, nobody builds homes that small anymore.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yes.
And you're not gonna get anybody to do that.
Right.
So
I-
that's where we got a problem.
Right. So I would go back to your original suggestion of if we stipulated that the duplexes need to have driveways.
Can we put that in there this time, staff?
Well, all of our current standards require off-street parking,
Okay, so.
so they'll have to have driveways.
Yeah, they'll have to have driveways. That's one thing. That's what I wondered. So, I mean, that's where I'm really torn at, because I hear the neighbors. I understand what the neighbors say. I'm looking at the duplex. I see that triangle piece there. Like I say, that duplex being zone R12 is not gonna make any difference on a single-family home there at all. Because like I say, it's up on top of the hill where the apartment place is, and you cannot see it at all when I'm looking around here, you cannot see that.
Give me your thoughts, Commissioners. We have a neighborhood that is trending upward.
It is trending upward, but.
It is a boundary point.
Right. But like I say, even though it's trending upward, that's on remodeling homes that are already there. There's nothing there, and you're not gonna get new construction to build there.
And we have somebody willing to build.
In a single-family home
In a
format.
Duplexes there.
single-family home. and we have somebody that wanting to build something there, which will be nice and new, it will look nice. Yes, I would see where they're at, where renters do not maintain the outsides, but it is a duplex. Sometimes on duplexes, the owners of the duplex maintain the outsides. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. Because I know my in-laws, they have theirs done on the outside because they have 2 duplexes. They maintain the outside.
Could you enthusiastically support this if it were not a rental, but it were condominium concept?
No,
No,
because I don't think that would happen.
not with the duplexes across the street. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
No.
I think they're not.
Ms. Ferguson, can you,
Speak.
I don't think that would be conducive because of the duplexes that are across the street. I don't.
I don't think that would happen either. I mean, I see where they're coming from with the duplex. I mean, I can see because they have somebody has money that will invest and wait for their period of money to come back. Single-family home, it's just costs too much construction-wise. 1,000 square foot home right now is costing $200 a square foot. That's $200,000 for a minimum 1,000 square foot home there. It won't sell there. I mean, I don't know what the prices of houses are right there right now without going Googling all that stuff up, but in my opinion, they're probably not up to that
Average
range.
price is 187
187,
right now.
so
Might
that's,
be less in that neighborhood. So we're asking for somebody to take a reach of probably $50,000 to buy a new single-family home in that neighborhood.
I think we're not making the choice right now between duplexes and single-family homes. We're probably
Right.
making the choice between a duplex and nothing.
right. That's what we're looking at.
Thank you, Heather.
Are there any additional
So
exchange?
my opinion here, since we have somebody willing to do it and go for it, I would support it. I hate to say it against the neighbors, because I like going with the neighbors, but it's either leave it a vacant lot and nothing be there, I'm sorry to say, or you get some neighbors, and hopefully they'll turn out good, who knows? But you do have new construction, which will help value in the area. It's new
will.
construction, so that will help the area. That's where I'm looking at, that's my point. I mean, I do see where you guys come from. I just, it's either leave it vacant, I don't know, like I say, they gotta demolish that building, I don't know how long that building's been on dangerous buildings, or has it been? Who knows? Anybody, I mean, staff, do you know?
I don't know, but there is a permit in now to demo the
Yeah, 'cause
building.
I heard from, like I say, we have over 200 dangerous buildings in Independence right now, and that would definitely help on something like that. So if we have kids in the neighborhood, they won't try to go in and play in and things like that. So my opinion is somebody's wanting to do something, let's help them on, get it done. I'm sorry to say, but I think it will help the neighborhood, in my opinion.
Do I hear a motion? The chair will entertain a motion.
Chair, I move to approve case 22-100-20, rezoning of 701 North Forest Avenue from R6 single family to R12 two-family residential.
Do I get a second?
I second.
Hearing such. Staff, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Vice Chair Preston.
No. This project is approved. Go in peace and prosper.
Thank you.
No, we thank you. And we thank you for coming out and giving comment.
I should have apologized at the beginning. I missed the last 2 meetings. Two meetings ago, I had COVID.
You're forgiven. Go and sin no more. The next case on the agenda is case 22-100-23, rezoning at 9607 East US Highway. Staff, would you report?
This property is at 9607 East US 24 Highway, basically the bend in 24 Highway where it goes under the railroad bridge near Arlington, just east of there. The applicant, Francisco Salcido, requests to rezone property that's currently R30 PUD and R12 to R6 single-family residential. So looking at the zonings here, you can see where this is located. It's got R12 and in the neighborhood to the south, which is a mixture of single-family and duplexes, but is generally a single-family neighborhood. And then you have the corridor that follows 24 Highway there, splitting the lots with a zoning line that's equidistant from the right-of-way there, going around the curve. The comprehensive plan, of course, sees this area as residential neighborhoods all around. This property has been zoned R30 PUD, high-density residential planned unit development, and district R12 two-family residential since 2009. From 1965 to 2009, the nomenclature was district R4 high-density residential and district R12 two-family residential. Essentially the same zoning, it's just different labels with that prior ordinance. The proposal by Francisco Salcido requests to rezone the property so they can split the lot in two and rehab an existing structure and build another on the existing foundation, basically. The physical characteristics of the property in the area. The property is somewhat secluded from US 24 Highway, only reaching it at its northwest corner, mostly separated by a mix of vacant and occupied lots, both with small single-family homes and a three-building apartment complex right up close to the MoDOT right-of-way there. Currently, a gravel drive divides the property at the northwest point, accessing an accessory building to the south and the shell of a house on the property's eastern edge, wedged in by the rail line running diagonal along the southwest property line. And the eastern and southeastern sides of the property are, again, butting mostly single-family homes, even though that area is zoned R12. So here's that aerial photograph. Unfortunately, it's very forested, so it's kind of hard to see what you're looking at there. But that gravel drive, you can see where it comes in right there near the bridge, and you can sort of see where that driveway swings over to the east through that open area of the trees there, just south of that property line, that red property line there. Actually, this lets you see what's under the tree cover a little better, so that you can see where the driveway is there. That existing accessory building, dilapidated there, and what little of the foundation in the house to the east that still sits on the property. The consistency with the Independence Strategic Plan. Of course, the objective of the city plan is to build new housing units that fill a market need. As far as meeting the comprehensive planning, guiding land use principles for the area, the proposed R6 zoning on this property would be consistent with residential neighborhood land use designation, as I showed you earlier. The guiding principle in the comprehensive plan, most pertinent would be to improve and maintain housing stock in established neighborhoods. Sub-area plans. This site is located within the 24 highway sub-area plan, and interestingly enough, within the downtown redevelopment area, which you wouldn't think, but it runs eastward along the 24 highway corridor, or westward. The 24 highway plan area envisions a mixture of commercial and residential uses, and the development of this property would further that vision for those residential uses. The proposed R6 zoning classification, of course, allows for single-family dwellings and other various uses like schools, churches, government buildings, and even agricultural activities if somebody wanted to garden on it. Analysis, currently the tract is zoned, of course, R30 PUD, which allows all the above things that I just mentioned, except for not single family, but allows for two-family and multifamily. In order to build two single-family homes on this property within this zoning, of course, they would need to be on separate lots, which would require this lot be split into two. Given the requirement that all single-family lots have to have frontage, they would have to go before the Board of Adjustment when they do that in order to waive that requirement that that eastern lot actually be abutting a right-of-way. The site appears not to have any historic or archaeological issues, and it's not in either a stream buffer or a floodplain. And of course, all the utilities are available in the right-of-way nearby. And of course, both lots would have to share that one access that's on the northwest side. There aren't any planned public improvements along 24 right-of-way, or at least none would be required of this applicant. And so this is looking southward, straight into the property. Okay. And then this is eastward with that property line running right to the left there toward the power line, the north property line. This is looking from the driveway northwest toward the intersection of Arlington there with 24. And this is the intersecting street from the north. And this looking back east, back up the hill toward Fairmont. So staff recommends approval of this rezoning, and I'll take any questions you may have.
The chair has no questions on this one. Commissioners,
I do.
proceed.
Can you explain to me the likelihood of the frontage requirement not being met and that being approved? I don't want to approve something that doesn't have a chance of actually happening the way it's been presented to us.
Well, I mean, if you approve the zoning, first of all, it just says you can't have two lots.
Okay.
So theoretically, they could build one house.
They could do one.
With a R6 and leave things the way they are. What they'd be getting a variance for is allowing them to have two lots. So it's not so much tied to the zoning as it's tied to the lot split.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Brian, looks like right now, what, they have two houses that are sitting on there right now? Is that what it looks like, that you took pictures of?
There was a house, and then that other was a accessory building.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they're,
it was a garage with maybe a upstairs.
okay. I was just curious. I'm just trying to figure out how they, like say, would put two houses there. I mean, I can see put an easement down there so they can have the driveways, but I just think that'd be cost. I mean, here we are going to say, well, somebody going to build two houses down in this neighborhood for that price. I'm going, okay. So, okay, that's it. Thanks.
Commissioners, no further questions. Will the applicant, Mr. Salcedo, or his representative present? Please, were you sworn in?
Yes,
Thank you. Would give us your name and address?
of course.
for the record.
Nubia Gomez, address is 618. Sure. Oh, down,
Repeat for the record again.
of course. Nubia Gomez, address is 618 Northeast 114th Terrace, Kansas City, Missouri, 64155.
Proceed.
Our plan, I'm here on behalf of my partner, Francisco Salcedo. Our plan was to rehab both properties. At one point, that garage, that is an accessory building, was converted into a single-family home. There is a bathroom, like the outskirts of what used to be a bathroom, so we know that it has utilities somewhere. We need to get a survey done, but like they mentioned, if we cannot get the zonings or this lot split, our plan would be to just rehab the other property in the one lot. We've already gotten the plans. We actually submitted for permits, and then we realized we had a zoning issue. But we do have a plan to convert that main building, or the main home, into a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and the other one would stay as a small house, a small 1-bedroom, 1-bath house.
That was a non-conforming second building, correct?
Correct.
And what you're seeking to do is right what has been there all along.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions? Hearing none, we retain the right to call you back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on behalf of this project? Right. Hearing none, is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing none, staff, do you have any further comment?
No, I do not.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff?
Back to the buildings that are there, Brian, are those buildings available to be revamped, or do they need to be tore down? That's what I'm looking at. I mean, bring back to your pictures back up.
Okay. That's the first one.
So it's just brick standing, correct?
Yeah, this is the one closest to the street, the one closest to the railroad tracks on
Right.
the west. And then that's,
Does that
The
have a
larger
roof on
one.
it or anything, or is it just all brick too? I can't tell from the picture.
I should have walked up there. I didn't walk all the way up there. But it's all masonry, I believe.
I mean, the permits they'd have to bring it all back up to, okay, I just wanted to make sure that would be happening. Thank you.
We'll close the public portion of this. And commissioners, discussion.
Oh, this is a no-brainer. Let's go ahead.
The chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve case 22-100-23, rezoning 9607 East US 24 Highway.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
and Vice Chairman
Yes.
Bill Preston.
This has been approved by the Planning Commission, will be set for City Council. It's approved. Congratulations, and thank you for doing the right thing. Final item on the agenda is case number 23-100-01, rezoning at 96 and 104 West 23rd Street from C2 and R12 to C3, and 910, 920, 924 West 23rd Street, and 130 South Cottage from C2 to C3. Staff, would you give us a report?
Yes, this is an application to rezone multiple properties along West 23rd Street and South Cottage, northeast corner, as you can see from the aerial photograph. The aerial vicinity map shows the red circle shows the general location of the site. It's on that northwest corner. It actually consists of 6 lots of various sizes along there. One of them faces Cottage, the others face West 23rd Street. The owner of the property, Hilda Ramirez of Royal Stone LLC, seeks to rezone these properties from a combination of C2 and R12 to C3 to use it for her business called Royal Stone Landscaping. Here's the aerial photograph of the site. The property is outlined in black, black outline, as you can see around. It's kind of L-shaped, reversed L-shaped. It goes back to the north quite a bit there, and then it also includes that northwest corner where it shows the driveway that crosses over. There was multiple houses on this lot on these lots until 10 years ago, when they were all demolished. This is the rezoning of the property. Again, this site, like many others along our corridors, was strip zone commercial a number of years ago. In this case, it's about 200 feet back from the right-of-way of here West 23rd Street. So it basically bisected these properties on 23rd Street, leaving the rear portion of the property as residential and then the front zoned commercial. And it includes all of the property that actually fronts onto Cottage, which is in the southeast corner there. Like I mentioned, this property was on strip zone commercial, at least till 1965, if not before. That's generally our last known official zoning map, or first or last, one of the two. Like many other properties along the city's corridor, the applicant purchased this property, 6 lots, about a couple of years ago, and started to work on the sites, clear the sites a great amount, and install parts of some equipment and other type things here on the site for the business, which is Royal Stone Landscaping. They sell dirt, gravel, rock, mulch, that sort of thing in large quantities to the public and wholesale as well. They also gravel part of the site and put in driveways off of both Cottage and West 23rd Street, as you can see from the photos here in a minute. They also put up some concrete bin enclosures that they kept materials in. They had some materials actually delivered to the site. They had done all this work without any sort of building permit or grading permit, anything like that. They were, the City Code Compliance Division issued them a, I don't want to say a stop work order, but a violation notice. And so they had removed the, any materials they had in the site and kind of rearranged their concrete blocks so they didn't look so much like a business. This is the sketch plan that they have turned in that shows the general design of the project. Basically, they'll have they show one driveway off of West 23rd Street and one driveway off Cottage. Both those driveway approaches are existing. The one off Cottage is one for a residential house, so it's somewhat narrower than a true commercial driveway. Then you can see the bins located at various numbers here. They have a small building which is near the corner of the residential property, and then parking. Again, this is just a sketch plan. They've got things to work out as far as approaches, drive approaches, paving of the lot, construction of a building, stormwater management, utilities, all that sort of thing, if they get this zoning approved. So, like I said, this is a sketch plan. Okay, this segment along 23rd Street, which I'm sure everybody knows, is kind of a mixed bag of commercial uses. There's some automotive uses. Actually, across the street from this site, there's a couple of churches, a cosmetology school. To the west, there is a automobile repair place that's been there years and years. To the east, there's also a transmission shop. And as you get closer to Chrysler, obviously, there's more commercial uses. The comprehensive plan envisions residential urban neighborhoods for this site. It mentions neighborhood shopping centers within walking distance, and is intended to provide a mix of existing homes with infill housing to include a residential range of densities and a range of housing types. The plan would envision redevelopment of the site to residential urban neighborhood uses rather than C3. Okay, this is the comprehensive plan. Again, this shows the site. It's kind of L-shaped. Again, to the west is the automobile repair operations. That L-shaped building there was actually a car wash years ago. It's not been in operation for many years. Cottage Avenue is to the east of the site, comes down and tees into West 23rd Street. Okay, here we're on the south side of 23rd Street, looking north into the site. You can see there's still a number of these little bins that materials are kept in, and they've also had some concrete barriers along the front. Here we're on Cottage, at the intersection of Cottage and 23rd Street, which is to the left, looking west into the site. This is a driveway that they were using to access into the site. As you can see, they've had the barriers along here that they moved out. They've also paved a driveway that goes into the main portion of the site. Here we're on the site looking to the west. Again, you can see the bins where they kept wood, gravel, dirt, and so forth would be stored in. They have not done some preparation on the paving of the surface with gravel, but there isn't any paving in place. Here's another picture of the bins. That is the car businesses off to the left, on the left side, that is off to the west. Here on the north part of the site, looking down the hill. Now this site is relatively flat from 23rd Street, probably 250 to 300 feet before it slopes down to the north, and there is stream buffer along the north side, a creek in the stream buffer floodplain. That's a little storage facility, a little storage container there. Okay, here we're looking east towards South Cottage. Again, 23rd Street is on the right. This is some of the area which would be drived and would be part of their business operations. Okay, here we're looking north up Cottage Avenue. As you can see, there's single-family homes there on the left, and then further down we've got some more pictures. This is the single-family home that is immediately north of the site. It joins the property, which is just to the left. This is a home across the street to the northeast of the site. It abuts the transmission place, which is directly to the east across from the property. And here we've got some pictures of the businesses. This is a cosmetology school that's southeast of the property, and then a church here, a small church. And this is a construction contractor on the south side of 23rd. And then there is another church that is directly south of the site. And then this is part of the property that's used by various automotive repair service type of businesses here. There's actually probably 4 businesses in this area. There's this one, and then to the left there's also some more that do various types of auto repair. Staff does not support this rezoning of the property to C3. In addition to the comprehensive plan recommends residential use for the site, staff has concerns that the proposed C3 zoning would allow for other uses that would not contribute to the long-term success of the 23rd Street corridor. Suitability is also is a concern with having a C3 zoning adjacent to currently utilized and zoned single-family homes.
Thank you. Take a moment for me, and I know we may be premature here, but environmental impact and this type of operation in direct contact, proximity to residential.
Well, we would have to look at their finished site plan here, if I can get to it, and see how that would affect it. This block that's on the northeast side there is all the single-family homes that go down there. We would want to make sure that any drainage would be properly handled. They may have a detention basin to the north of this because that's the way the property generally slopes, but it's still kind of premature to say how much, how that would be handled as far as, coverage of the property, potential runoff from the materials that are stored there. It looks like there's a lot of bins there. I'm not sure if they'll all be used in reality and what materials will be in the bins. We would want to make sure that any drainage wouldn't go, or anything wouldn't go to the northwest, to the northeast. It'd either have to be handled on site or eventually maybe drained to the north. Hope that answers your question.
But Stuart, did you say
Commissioner?
there's a stream on the back side?
There is on the north, yes.
On the north side, basically a stream that's probably stream.
Yeah, you can't quite see it in this photo very well. Unfortunately, all the photos that we have now have such tree cover that you can't really see anything. But this kind of shows where that blue line is at the top of the rezoning areas. There's a creek that flows through there, and it's part of a stream buffer, so they can't build anything in there. So I think the staff would like to be sure that that's not an issue later.
No, we wouldn't want runoff going down there to contaminate that stream to move.
Well, that's why you'd have the detention basin and potentially dikes or something along those lines.
Okay.
Commissioners, any additional questions of staff?
I have one. Stuart, the lot next to it that used to be the car wash, is it C2 or is it C3?
Well, actually, I guess I wasn't the staff person that worked on that case, but it was on C3 a few years ago. I don't remember the date exactly, but just that portion of the property, as it appears on this map, it is kind of the darker red area.
Is C3?
Immediately next to it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is C3, but it's, like I said, it's been an automobile repair business of some sort for, I don't know, 30 years maybe. I've been here 22 years, and it's been like that since then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Would you please come forward? State your name and address as for the record. Speak into the mic.
I have a PowerPoint. He has provided a PowerPoint that I'm going to put up that he will show you also.
Thank you, Stuart. My name is Julio Benales. I'm living in 1903 Jamestown Road, Independence, Missouri. 1 second.
You can put it on the top, put it on the top and let it lean forward, and that might keep you from bending.
Oh, thank you. I am one of the partners of Royal Stone. I am Hilda Ramirez's brother. We create a company to resell all those kind of materials like rock, mulch, dirt, but it's just like those materials that you use for make pretty your home outside. No like concrete, no stuff like that to contaminate the I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous.
Relax. You take a moment.
Thank you. So what's going on 23rd? So we usually, our business is just to buy the materials from quarries or another vendors and sell them to people without a physical address, you know. And we try to expand our business and landing our business in a lot. And we tried, and we did buy this lot on 23rd and Cottage to try to reach those people that just want to buy materials for small quantities. And before we buy this lot, I see there was a lot of people that don't has home living there, and they are still living on the wood. And I hear about that one of those guys, or they burned one home that used to be there. So it's not a good idea just to leave that land for like without nothing. And if you just leave it for making for somebody who wants to build a home, it's not gonna be a good idea, I think, because people just that don't have home, they are not good on that area. And we are trying to make a good business for the city. And like I said, we used to buy the materials from the quarries directly to the customer, but on this way we are going to pay taxes to the city if we land this business on your area. And that's what we are planning to do. And we won't contaminate anything because we are planning to make bins to retain any kind of material that we are going to place on this area. Probably let's go and take a look how it's going to look after we finished our construction. As you can see, the entrance is gonna be from 23rd, and the exit is going to be to Cottage.
You can actually look at the aerial up here and then just talk, and that way you won't be away from the microphone.
Oh, thank you, Stuart. All those orange and yellow squares on the left are bins to keep the materials. The green, the blue, and the yellow that are on the right are going to be park lots for customers. The green square, it's gonna be our office, and as you can see, we are going to left like a green area in front, and it's gonna be pretty sun. It's not gonna make ugly the area. And I think after we make one second, please. ¿Cómo se dice cerca. No, una cerca, una fence. Okay, okay, sorry. After we finish our fence, we won't have any more people without living there, just destroying or doing bad things for our neighbors also. And also, just to let you know that our just next neighbor, it's doing automotive business, so I think we are okay about the zone. It's the right place to make this kind of business. And sorry, you have any question?
The obvious concern is this is a project, commercial, protruding deeply into a residential neighborhood with a stream to the north. Help me to envision how this is not going to become a nuisance to the adjoining residential properties. And if I need to repeat something, just let me know.
If I understand well, you said if it's gonna be a problem for noise. Okay, our operations are going to start at 8, after 8 a.m. and we are going to use only like little bobcats to load the customers. We won't have big machinery or something like making really big noises. So after we've finished building this, we won't make a lot of noise. I think it's my opinion.
All right. Commissioners, questions?
Can you tell me how long you've been operating on that property?
We are building these bins, but we are not doing business.
You're not, okay.
We are not doing business. We just building here. It's taking a while, but yeah.
I'd have to comment to that because I saw you were doing business there because you had signs up with telephone numbers.
Right, but
And I did see you guys loading people's trailers with rock. You had rock air. So you were doing business there, correct?
we've been loading to friends, but it's not been doing business there.
Okay. Well, the one thing is that you've been cited by the city for that purpose. That's one thing. So I'm just saying you need to be truthful with us, so.
No, yeah, but the sign that says we deliver, we thought we are not in problems because we have a permission to directly send the materials from the quarry to the customer without using the land, you know.
Oh. Now, back to the noise thing, like Preston say, when you guys bring in materials, you're bringing in big trucks, correct? When they deliver the material?
3 axle.
Okay, and when they dump the material, when that big back end swings down and makes a big old boom, and I'm sure neighbors probably will not like hearing that periodically. I'm just telling you what I hear and what I see, because I drive by, you can see things like that happen at construction sites right now. So you're saying a construction site basically bringing material daily to there 2 or 3 times a day. So there will be noise. So that's something that you're going to have to deal with, and the neighbors probably won't like that. So that's something that you'll have to, if this gets passed, you'll have to look into probably some kind of noise barrier, probably a 8-foot, 10-foot fence noise barrier on the back side. I don't know if you can afford things like that. I'll have some more questions for you here in a minute after I talk to staff.
Anyone else with questions?
Not so much a question, I'll get to one, I think, but I'm always fascinated when somebody has an idea, decides how to make it a business, finds a piece of property in the center of a town. Yes, there's some residential behind you, but there's certainly a lot of commercial and churches and a cosmetology school and some other things around there that I would therefore not call this frontage to 23rd residential. So can you kind of walk me through your passion for this business and why you chose that location?
Well, we really love doing this business because this is what we used to do in our country, so we like this business first of all. And we like 23rd because, first of all, we saw a land that is not used for many years, and we saw a land that we consider nobody is going to build something there for any other business. And for the conversations we hear that about the homeless guys doing there, and I think probably we are going to be a pain for neighbors for what you say, but homeless are, I think it's a big problem for the city and for neighbors, and I think we're going to make a great job doing business in here for you guys.
Additional questions, commissioners?
I got questions for staff, but you can sit down.
Thank you. We probably will call you back.
Okay, thank you.
Before we proceed to supporting Commissioner Nesbitt, your question?
Staff, as of right now, can they not run this type of business there? For what reason?
Well, any sort of landscape business, especially those with outside storage materials, require the higher grade of zoning.
Right. Okay, because I'm just going by what I see, another one over on 291, so that must be C3 over there then. Is that correct?
Probably not knowing right offhand which one you're talking about.
Empire, I mean.
That's legal nonconforming. It's been there for, I don't know how long.
Oh, so that's a non-conforming and it just got sold and they let it go?
Well, you can sell and buy and sell non-conforming properties as long
But-
as they maintain their active business license and all that.
Oh, so they just maintain, so even though they sold, they can,
Sure, they can just take over the business license. I mean, it's a little like the little corner grocery store that's been there for 50 years. But you know that mom and pop is still not operating it. They've sold it to somebody else. But it's still functioning in the same manner and design that it originally did when it was opened. I mean,
Okay.
that's not unusual.
okay, so the biggest thing is that they cannot store outside stuff without
Yeah, their whole
C3.
business is outdoor business, and that really needs to be in a C3.
So that's the only reason, well, that's the bigger reason it's gotta be C3 because of that.
Well, that and part of it is zoned, residential, the
The
north part.
backside's zone
So,
residential.
and we don't know exactly how to partition that off to where they can.
Well, I mean, like say that, look, yeah, I understand what you're talking about there, but I mean, like she stated down there, the front zone is commercial. I mean, we can't see residents being built on there, so I don't see any problem with the C2. I do see a problem with the C3, but it's a catch one here. Now, if they would go, if this goes through and they do get a license, would that whole property have to be paved?
Well, no, we'd have to look at that when they turn in a site plan. I think that their plan that they show here, I think we would want to look at some of that doesn't need to be paved. Right where you come in this area that's to the south of the parking spaces
Right.
and that arrow, well, that all that doesn't need to be paved. There's no reason for that. So we would probably want some yard areas there, and then maybe, yard areas being grass or other landscaping sort of thing there. And then maybe other areas north of where the storage units are, so we can cut down on the amount of impervious surface that is on the site.
Right. Okay, well, that's something, I don't know if they realize all that stuff or not.
Yeah, it's hard to say from a sketch plan. It's without any dimensions and all that thing to know how much room is in there. I don't think they needed all of that paved. There's just no reason for it to be.
Well, then it wouldn't, I mean, they'll have to plant trees and things to bring it up to.
That's
code
right.
and stuff like-
There's a street trees and all that sort of thing required, landscaping requirements required.
Okay. Well, my biggest question was why they couldn't run with the C2, so you answered that because of the outside storage. Okay.
And that one of the things that we're concerned about with the C3 zoning is if this, you don't want to think this business could ever fail, but there's always that possibility, and then you'd have a pretty big block of C3 there, and what do you do with that?
Right.
From what we've seen around other places in the city, places like this tend to attract automotive businesses.
Like the C3 that's going on
Yeah.
right next door that looks
Yeah,
like a,
and would that be a good scenario for 23rd Street?
no. Okay, thank you.
We'll do a roll call in terms of, is there anyone here to speak in support of this application? Is there anyone here speaking in opposition to this application? Hearing none, staff, before we close the public portion of this hearing, are there any additional questions of the applicant? Hearing none, then I close the public portion of this and we'll resort to discussion. Candidly, my concern has in the back of my mind a case we just dealt with off of the square on Spring, wherein a lot was being used for material. This chamber was full of people in opposition.
Right.
I hate throwing wet blankets on a good idea.
Right.
But I can't see this protruding into a residential neighborhood and that creek without it becoming a major problem.
Well, the problem is gonna be, if they're not gonna pave it, like I say, they wouldn't have to pave it, you're gonna have dust. You're gonna have dust flying all over the place. They can't control that.
That's right.
And then you're gonna have the water, when it rains, the dust running down to the creek. I don't care if you do put a detention pond, it's gonna overflow and then go into that. So my opinion is the whole place would have to be paved with a nice thing, but the problem is also is that they can't go forward without being C3.
Correct.
And I don't wanna make it C3 because of what can happen if it fails.
Question,
Wait
is there a
wait.
way to create a buffer?
Can I make another comment?
Absolutely.
I did have a neighbor call me from down this area, and they are opposed to it because they first did not get a license, and it's sat there all summer long being used. I did drive by, I did see rock and stuff be loaded and taken out of there over a bunch of bumpy roads and what they did. It was not smooth. They had grass that's over 3 feet tall, and they were and so they're opposed to this happening in that neighborhood. There's somebody that called me on that today. They just couldn't come tonight because of other obligations. So somebody did call me on that, so.
Commissioners?
I think it's unfortunate that there's not more neighbors here. I'm shocked that we have no one to talk about this project.
Well,
Right? I mean, I drive by every day and have noticed and have wondered. But, of all things, you would think that people would be here to talk about this kind of project. It's unfortunate.
That's why the Planning Commission exists. I recall receiving a bit of a reprimand from a fellow commissioner, and my comment was that there's no opposition, and opposition would be common sense. And I was reminded that people work. That's why this Planning Commission exists, to do the work of the people. That's why we're here.
Right.
I will give my, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't have the past history of these other incidences that you referred to. But I think to hold one business owner because of the bad actions of other business to the current applicant. I think to be against future work and building, over what might happen when I believe the staff's, part of their job is to tell them what they need to do to mitigate those difficulties. And if the applicant is willing to do those things, then we need to give them an opportunity to do it.
Right, but the staff has recommended this not be approved.
Because of concerns for the future if it fails. Why would we ever, as a planning commission, vote on something or not vote on something because somebody might fail? Our job is to allow, in this particular case, somebody who is an immigrant to our city, who brought an expertise in a particular field and had an idea to take a lot that is proverbial empty, and be able to say, I want to do something with it. Because when I drive down 23rd, I don't see the houses behind there. Not that that's not important, not that those houses and those residents shouldn't matter, because they should, absolutely. But to stop a business on our business main street, 23rd, for what potentially could happen without offering up additional mitigation or opportunities for this business to happen, prove to us what they can do. That's why code enforcement exists, is for people to fail and us to help them succeed later.
I think Commissioner Wiley make an excellent point. My point was not a criticism of a business, but the location of that business. And the case that we're talking about, it was not a bad business. We're not bad people. It was merely the material that was being stored created incredible havoc, dust, that this chamber was absolutely full of people in opposition. And when I say in opposition, I should say in favor of the new project that would eliminate that problem that has been a sore. So it's not about a business being not a good business. I think it's an excellent business plan. I think the model has merit. I just don't know how it can possibly work without becoming a nuisance to all of the residents in the area. That's what Commissioner Nesbitt was talking about. I love the enthusiasm. I think new blood is vital. That's what makes America great. Now, it saddens me that I cannot enthusiastically support the business in this location. And what I hearken to here, can staff come up with an idea to make the dust, the noise, and all of that go away?
Well, he's going to have to pave the parking areas. I mean, he's not going to be able to use gravel. And that's why we would like to see green areas added to this plan that would reduce the amount of dust, gravel on the site. And I'm not sure what we could do exactly to affect anything from the bays. I just don't know enough about it at this point.
Let me ask you this. We know that that is a problem area. We know that homelessness live there. It's an eyesore. Is it possible to work again with this applicant and they come up with an idea, trees, whatever, to create a buffer, reduce the footprint of the operation, bring it in and put a 25, 30, 40-yard perimeter of no operation with some no young trees to begin with, but is that?
Sure, that's possible, but we would have to have a meeting with them and go over the plans a little bit more and get other departments more involved in it, such as water pollution control and engineering and so forth, and see what he could come up with. He may end up having to hire engineer or a surveyor, something like that, to come up with another plan that has more of a, I don't want to say professional appearance, but something that we can visually see how everything would be laid out on the site. And we would give him input on what we would like to see and come up with some things.
So Bill,
I'm going to ask the applicant to return to the podium.
Can I ask staff one more question
Yes.
here? So the letters that went out, I'm just now looking through them. Are we mainly rentals here, or do we know here in this area? I mean, right off the top, I'm seeing a bunch of,
rentals.
yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of rentals.
Well, there's a lot of homes on Cottage that appear to be, there. Now, all the properties along 23rd Street obviously are
Okay, businesses. okay.
commercial, but
Because I mean, like I say, I'm surprised, like I say, there's nobody. There was a sign posted, or was it?
I actually put signs up on Cottage and 23rd Street.
So you did put two signs,
Yeah.
okay. I did not see them, and I drive down there quite often. so-
Well, when I was out there, one of the times I was out there, I had to put it back up because it blew over. That's the
Okay.
thing, those signs tend to be very
Okay.
wind resistant.
Okay. That's just questioning if we knew. Okay, thank you.
Question for you. Rather than this commission making a vote, which potentially would be a no, how about, would you like to request a continuance so that you may have time to work with staff, take their input, your wonderful ideas and the business plan, accept their assistance, and come back to this commission? Would you like to request?
Yes, sir. I want to work with them and see how we can avoid making a. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. That's good enough. Counselor, can he request a continuance so he is afforded the opportunity to work with staff?
Yes, he can request a continuance. The thing that would be important for the commission is to make sure that it is continuing the public hearing to a date certain of a specific date. And that way there wouldn't be a need to republish the notice for the public hearing.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
Can I
Absolutely.
ask a question of him?
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to spend time and money to see your business happen on that site? Or at what point, or is there a future point where you would need to consider changing locations? And if so, would you promise to stay in Independence?
We've been we check a couple places, one here and one in Kansas. So we came here and we buy this place, but we are really interested in working together. As long as they said you gotta remove all the material, we start removing all that, and they can see we respond with everything they said. So we are really interested in doing the right way. So if we have to create like a fence of trees or whatever, I'm not a specialist on that, but we can find out who's a specialist on like making a fence of trees to avoid the noise for neighbors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Wiley?
Oh, wait, can I ask a question real quick?
Absolutely.
Are you able, now this is not gonna be cheap if they come back with their recommendations, to spend upwards of probably $100,000 to get that ready for a business area? Because you're gonna have to pave it and things like that, and that's not gonna be cheap. I just want you to realize that it's not gonna be cheap what they're probably gonna ask you to do, because you're gonna have drawings, detention, thing, you're gonna have to hire an engineer, and people like that to do all that. I don't know if he knew people to do that or not. So I'm just letting you know, you're probably looking at spending probably $100,000 or better just to get it ready to give you approval for a permit. I'm just putting that out there in your head. You don't have to answer the question. I'm just giving you some advice, what I think is probably going to cost you to get it ready to be a business like we'd like it to be seen.
Well, right now I don't have a,
I know, I'm just telling you, that's what I envision, to have that be a nice place like what you're talking about. I'm all for it. I mean, Empire, they made that look so much nicer over there. I don't know if you're related to Empire or not, over on 291.
yes, they are my brothers.
That's what I thought. So, I mean, they're making that place look really nice, yes. So, I appreciate what you guys are doing. It looks really nice over there. So,
Staff? Commissioner Wiley?
How about March 14th?
Maybe staff would.
Does that work? So that means he'd have to submit his plans by the 21st of February.
Well, this rezoning request is not a planned unit development.
Oh, okay.
He is not required to submit any sort of site plan, nor can you approve a site plan as part of the rezoning application. These are two different items. This is for straight rezoning. I mean, he's welcome to turn in a site plan, I mean, which is what he's provided, but to require him to go out and hire an engineer or an architect to enlist more money into something that may not get approved anyway, that's really certainly his option, but this is not a PUD. There's no site plan to be approved with this rezoning.
The question before this commission is, what can be done to make this a viable project that this commission could vote on and approve? And somehow, something in my brain says, if he talks to you, you may be able to figure something out. I don't, even if we decline it, the city council still will consider. But they probably will end up with the same questions and concerns as we would have.
Yeah, he would not be tied to any site plan that he would provide this commission just to review. He could change it at a later time as necessary. So I wouldn't say anything that he would be you would submit for your review would be, something that he would 100% have to construct. It would be a refined concept plan, more or less, what you see here. You always want, this is the difference between use and zoning here. Zoning, you gotta have to think about all the uses that are potential in that district versus this use and the site plan that would accompany, which come later during the actual development of the process, development of the property process.
Is there a method wherein there is a permitted use that is essentially C3, but it's still zone C2?
Well, potentially he could go through a PUD process, keep the C2 zoning, but then add this use to that C2 zoning, except he would still have to come through this commission and to the planning and to the city council. For example, we did that with the Cargo Largo. They have multiple uses in there, but when we wrote the ordinance that approved the project, we included in the ordinances various types of uses that would be allowed in that district that's not normally allowed in that district. We also did that with the Northgate Industrial Park out on Little Blue Parkway, excuse me. We added certain things to the base ordinance that would allow things that are not normally allowed in that district.
I think this project has great value, and we have a property that is an eyesore and has been such for years. And I think if we are thoughtful here and help him make this work, it can possibly work. So if I hear the applicant correctly, you're saying you would request additional time to develop some ideas and meet with the staff to take counsel and hear from them what they can do to help you. And a date of,
March 14th.
do I hear you making a request for a continuance to March
14th.
14?
Okay, just to remind you that this, again, is not a PUD application. Anything he submits for review would not be to be adopted or approved, considered by this group. If he wants to change the application to be a PUD, he would need to reapply.
Billy, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what you just hit upon was to not need to change the zoning, but come back with how an exception could be written to do the work he wants to do and needs to do to become a successful business. And that is probably something he could use the help of the staff.
Correct.
So that's the help we're asking. We're not asking them to do a lot of site plans for.
Well, we would, if I hear you correctly, the idea of requesting a continuance to March the 14th to work with staff to make this a viable project, that is your request?
I think I understand your question, but can I?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think she explained well to me. Yeah, we want to go ahead and try to solve with them, just making sure we are going to make it right.
Staff?
Again, to really come up with a site plan that we would be comfortable with, it would take time and the applicant's money to do this. And it kind of depends on how it goes. It may require a change in zoning application. Well, that would obviously be part of it. I mean, the type of application from to a planned unit type development.
I think the applicant is at a bit of a disadvantage due to language, but I think he sufficiently understands what needs to take place to make this work, or potentially make it work.
I do just want to point this out. What the business is proposing is an outdoor storage type of business. I couldn't sit here and tell you with any kind of guarantees that we would be able to mitigate what his intentions would ultimately be, even with the PUD use. For example, how do you mitigate sound and dust from an outdoor business, even if you're trying to allow it with a PUD? So I guess, so two things. This is really a zoning application. To even look at a PUD application, then this particular zoning application is kind of null and void. It's no longer a rezoning application. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, even with a PUD, I can't sit here and guarantee you that there's going to be a way to mitigate the things that he would want to do. So, for example, to be able to even potentially mitigate that, this would have to potentially be something significantly smaller. And is that going to basically fit his business plan? So I just want to point that out because you could spend a lot of money trying to go down a path that may not necessarily resolve the ultimate issues, if that makes sense.
Vice Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
so hearing that, I'm more inclined to bet on this young man and this family. I want to honor their request for a zoning change.
Further discussion? This is difficult, and I'm not proposing that there's a silver bullet, some magic solution. But I think we would be wise to afford you the opportunity to talk to staff, and if it's not doable, then it's not doable. But there's no way I think this commission can render a decision that would not be adverse to your business in the current format. So, that being said, how do we proceed?
Can I make a motion?
Go make a motion.
I make a motion that we postpone case 23-100-101, rezoning,
We continue.
to continue the public portion until March 14th.
The chair has a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Staff, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Preston,
Yes.
to
Motion's
March
carried.
14th.
Let's continue to March the 14th. And I trust that this applicant will have the benefit of some help with language so we can, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda would be the election of officers. I would initially thought that, because I wanted to nominate our chair,
I
Cindy
nominate
McLean.
Cindy McLean.
However, and the problem was that she would not be here to accept the appointment, but she's also not here to oppose the appointment. Therefore, I think we should take this vote and take advantage of her behind her back. Therefore, I move for the nomination of Chair Cindy McLean to continue in her seat as chair of this this planning commission.
I'll second that.
What the board may wish to do is nominate the current officers to retain their positions. That
Well,
way
it's
you don't have to
questionable
do it
about the
twice.
vice chair.
Okay.
I move that we retain our current officers for the 2023 year. Vice Chair Preston and our Chair Cindy McLean.
I second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Staff, call the roll.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner H. Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner L. Wiley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Preston.
I will not vote for Preston.
Are you abstaining?
I abstain. On behalf of, the motion is carried. Officers are retained. We did this behind the chair's back. I confess I enjoyed that. Staff, are there any more matters before this commission?
I actually have one question. What we just did in postponing
Continuing.
is continuing, excuse me, is what gets communicated so they did not miss that important deadline of February 21st, I think it was, and any new items that they want to present.
Yes, after the meeting, we'll usually it's the next day. We'll
Okay.
inform them of
I just- in a-
essentially what the actions were of the commission.
I am concerned about the language barrier and don't want that to be, a difficulty.
Yep,
So.
we'll make sure that they know the dates and get them submitted.
I have a question of staff.
Oh, Commissioner H. Wiley, question.
Do we have cases on Valentine's Day? That is a problem.
I think we have one.
We have one?
I think we have one.
I think to call this entire body for one case is simply, we can do better. And therefore, I'm sure staff will manage that.
We will manage that.
Thank you, sir. Are there any additional questions before the body? For the good of the order. Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.